Which one of the following is most commonly used aerodynamic control in a missile? Well done. Tail control is the right choice.
Which of the following JPL probes was the first to take images of another planet?
Correct. Mariner 4 is the right answer. At low flight speed, which of the following engine has high propulsive efficiency? Good job. Your answer, turboprop, works well here. Which of the following performance parameters can be related to the engine size? Excellent. Specific thrust is a brilliant choice. The force supplied by the rocket engine must be strong enough to overcome dash. You're right. Weight is the correct answer. The ratio of the bypass airflow rate to the core engine airflow rate is called solid response. Bypass ratio is a valid choice. What fuel has one of the simplest hydrocarbons, making it very clean burning? Clear logic. Your choice, propane, is sound and 100% true.
When a rocket is blasting off into space, what type of energy does it have?
Well picked. Kinetic is the correct answer. An airplane that goes so fast that heat starts to become a critical factor. Smart move. Hypersonic is an accurate answer. The most commonly used propellant for ion thrusters in spacecraft is dash. Sharp thinking. Xenon is the right choice. When the rocket engine is falling back down towards Earth, it is in dash. You got it. Your choice free fall is right. The Brayton cycle diagram shown represents which gas turbine hardware? On track. 1-2, compressor. 2-3, combustion. 3-4, turbine. 4-1. Exhaust is the correct answer. Shaft power is converted to thrust power of a moving aircraft in dash. Valid point. Turboprop engine is true. What was the first spacecraft to dive between Saturn and its rings? Correct response. Cassini is the most accurate answer. Which of the following is not a type of aircraft, propulsion system? Well reasoned. Hydraulic engine is the correct choice. Which of the following JPL satellites was not launched on shuttle? Smart pick. C's is the correct choice. Which process is represented by 1-2 in the Brayton cycle diagram? Perfect. Isentropic compression is the correct choice. Where is the increasing pressure found in jet and rocket engines? Right again. Inside the engine is a valid answer. What force is responsible for pulling objects back down to Earth? Good thinking. Gravity is the right answer. Which processes shown in the Brayton cycle diagram are isobaric? Excellent choice. 2-3 and 4-1 is the right answer. When was JPL threatened with cancellation by the administration? Strong choice. 1981 is the right answer. The specific impulse of a propulsion system is a measure of its. Great job. Fuel efficiency is the accurate answer. Following combustion, the working fluid in a turbojet enters a... Exactly. Turbine makes sense and it is right choice. When was the Indian Space Research Organization founded? Nicely done. 1969 is a solid answer.
What is the main naval propulsion method that uses a propeller?
Nice work. You chose propulsion to propeller, and it is correct.
Which program started the JPEL tradition of? Good luck, peanuts. Right choice? Ranger is the best answer. Which is one of the following is India's first launch vehicle?
Bravo. Salvi is the answer.
Which of the following engines cannot produce static thrust?
Nice selection. Ramjet is the correct and valid answer.
How fast must a rocket accelerate for it to reach orbit?
You chose 5 miles per second, and it is correct.
Which force will cause the rocket to be propelled upwards?
Great thinking. Thrust is the right choice.
What makes up most of the mass of a rocket before launch?
Smart pick. The propellant is the correct choice.
The type of nozzle used in an engine with afterburner is?
Bravo. Variable area nozzle is the answer.
Which of the following is most efficient at high speeds?
Nicely done. Pure turbojet is a solid answer.
Which physics principle explain all propulsion of rockets?
Good job. Your answer, Newton's third law, works well here. What is the key component of a steam propulsion system? You're right. Water heater is the correct answer.
The force used to provide lift for the rocket is dash.
Nice selection. Thrust is the correct and valid answer.
An airplane that goes slower than the speed of sound.
Excellent choice. Subsonic is the right answer.
Which type of engine cannot create thrust directly?
Great job. Piston is the accurate answer.
Propulsion is explained by which of Newton's laws?
Well done. An offer is the right choice.
Which of Newton's laws of motion apply to CO2 cars?
Strong choice. All of them is the right answer.
Which launch vehicle has liquid strap-on boosters?
Great thinking. Guess LVMKI is the right choice.
Who was the first person to step onto the moon?
Solid response. Neil Armstrong is a valid choice.
Select a cruise missile from the following list.
Exactly. BrahMos makes sense and it is right choice.
The act of moving or pushing an object forward.
Well picked. Propulsion is the correct answer.
The first airplane to fly faster than sound.
Correct. Bell X-1 is the right answer.
When did the first person walk on the moon?
Sharp thinking. 1969 is the right choice.
Which rocket component provides stability?
Well reasoned. Fin is the correct choice. A wave of molecular collisions is called. Good thinking. Pressure wave is the right answer.
Which type of rocket fuel is cheaper?
Clear logic. Your choice solid fuel is sound and 100% true.
At room temperature, xenon is a dash.
Correct response. Gas is the most accurate answer.
Who is the current director of JPEL?
Valid point. Lori Leshin is true.
Who was the first director of JPEL?
Nice work.
You chose Theodore von Karman, and it is correct.
When did JPL become part of NASA?
Right again, 1958 is a valid answer.
How many stages does Paselv have?
You got it? Your choice 4 is right.
Which university manages JPL? Right choice. Caltech is the best answer.
What is the speed of sound? On track. 760 miles per hour is the correct answer.
Which state is JPL in?
Smart move. California is an accurate answer.
A supersonic airliner.
Perfect. Concorde is the correct choice.
Name of Indian opera?
You chose Vikas, and it is correct.
SELF stands for.
Excellent. Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle is a brilliant choice. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format. Well picked. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct answer.